An important distinction: it is okay to like 30 frames per second, and it's okay to love 60 frames per second, but when you keep dancing from narrative to narrative because of what company promotes what frame rate at whatever time, this is why everyone laughs at you dumbasses. PlayStation fans. Oh my God! This is a discussion. Some Horizon Forbidden West gameplay will play, and I will talk over it. Welcome. So as soon as this gameplay finished for Horizon Forbidden West, I noticed that comments about whether this game is truly next gen or is this truly next gen, etc., suddenly started up again. But the one question I have on my mind is, what even constitutes a true next-gen experience? Alright, enough of that racket, let's just get to the game. So whenever a new generation starts, you always have your games that lead the pack in terms of what is a next-gen experience. Last generation, you had infamous Second Son and Rise Son of Rome. This generation seems to be Ratchet and Clank, and now Horizon Forbidden West. Nope, can't put Flight Simulator there because it's not out on the next gen consoles and therefore it is registered as a PC experience. But I think too often we conflate the term best looking with next gen. And for a lot of people right now, this is the new next gen game. This is the new next gen standard. And I'm watching this and I'm just thinking to myself, the game looks great, but to me, a game running at 30 frames per second with incredible graphics no longer sits by insane levels of wizardry. Okay, fine. Your game looks great, but it looks great with very obvious concessions. With it running at half rate, it really means you can plow into those visuals. So yeah, it doesn't scream wizardry to me, it just screams that we have a strong sense of direction. We know what we're doing. Now, where I stand on the insurmountable levels of wizardry would be getting your graphics, your physics, your frame rate, your density, your clarity, your higher resolution, all of these running above optimum. For instance, as Aloy is moving now, Jesus Christ, look at the density here. And if we were getting all of this as she's moving now, all of this at 60 frames per second, I'd be completely blown away. The detail is immense, almost overwhelming. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of pop-in over there to the left, but just wow at these visuals. And that's how I genuinely feel about the bar for next-gen games. Your game needs to look like graphically it can only run at 30 frames per second, but it runs at 60. Because then my next questions after that is, how on earth did you manage to drag such a good-looking game to 60 frames per second? How did you manage to get it there, just kicking and screaming? You have to tell me. And I don't have that question for Horizon Forbidden West. This is very much a PlayStation 4 game being dragged to the specs of a PlayStation 5 console. One of my biggest criticisms for Horizon Zero Dawn was that the world looked beautiful but felt flat. I will never stop praising the look of these robo-dinos. But you have this incredible looking world that is barely affected by the elements that inhabit it. And this is where the PlayStation 4-ness of this game rears its head. It's a PlayStation 5 game at surface level only. But of course, Sony knows this more than anyone. This is why they always lead with 30 frames per second gameplay. There's a higher chance of there being a 60 frames per second mode that they have in tow with obvious further concessions, but Sony know not to reveal that until the very end because they understand that they need the power of word of mouth to speak Forbidden West into such an unattainable state that people start believing its graphical godhood. Mate, have you seen that Horizon Zero Best West? Yeah, I mean, it looks like that CG film. You know the thing with that guy with the gold glove? Yeah, the Barney looking dude. Yeah, the Barney looking dude with the 5 jewels on his gold glove. Yeah, it looks better than that. Seriously? Yep. Trust me. And that's what Sony want, because the everyman is not looking for 60 frames per second. The everyman is more likely going to push the narrative Sony want with something that blows his mind. And what blows his mind is what this game looks like. So 60 frames per second is inconsequential. And Sony is also 6,000% aware that their weaponized legion of fans will never betray what they're trying to concoct here and start rioting in the streets because they showed 30 frames per second gameplay instead of 60 frames per second. Sony's very aware that their fans will fall in line. And Sony knows that when the time comes and Xbox has to start showing their video games, they know they've always got their reliable fans holstered, ready to unleash hell when Xbox and their first party start revealing their games at double the frame rate but looking nowhere near as detailed as this. Now, it's not as though I can't be convinced to play a game at 30 frames per second. No, I can. The most recent game I can remember playing at 30 frames per second is Control, which is obviously better at 60. I mean, when I started playing it, I hated the first 10 minutes of it because I'd been playing so many 60 frames per second games. But once my wounds healed and I adjusted to 30 frames per second, I was completely fine. Also, what Control has going for it is a crazy physics system where everything in the world is affected by psychokinesis, or whatever power she has. I don't even know what the power's called. So basically, if you so much as sneeze, stuff just moves. That being said, granted, you do use your powers mostly for shoving desks into people's teeth, it was fun while it lasted. I played it once, and I never played it again after that, but I can't lie, during that run, it was fun. From what I'm seeing here with Forbidden West, it doesn't have that luxury. I'm not sure there's much of a chance of me playing it at 30 because from what I can tell, the game is just Horizon Zero Dawn, but better. It hasn't fundamentally changed, it's just been improved, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when I played the first one and completed the game, once the credits rolled, I felt like there was no reason to go back into it. Because my litmus test for a game I thoroughly enjoy is one that, once it's finished, I start the game again and immediately start playing. And if I'm enjoying all the design elements, it's so easy to start a second playthrough, and that just didn't happen with Horizon Zero Dawn. And that is something that 60 frames helps with immensely. But getting back onto the point of a next-gen game, and what constitutes a next-gen game, there's this weird power vacuum now where we point to the shiniest new game and say, now that's what I call next-gen. So here, Aloy is, she's in tall grass again. Why? In a world of possibilities, and I'm certain it's only because it's a vertical slice, but surely there are other options for stealth. And I wonder, could anything in this current slice of gameplay be used to flesh out the stealth portions of this game? Flesh them out beyond just squatting in tall grass? What if we had taller, sturdier grass that you could maybe climb up and descend from? Would that be an idea? I mean, I'm just spitballing here. So, stealth attempt failed because now Aloy's fighting this guy, your typical middle grade big idiot. And it turns out Aloy's got a lot of new moves. Let's take it back a bit. AKA to the stuff you missed as I was trying to make my point about stealth opportunities. And yeah, you can tell that Guerrilla Games took the lack of combat that Aloy had in Horizon Zero Dawn to heart, because now she has more than one hit. If I remember correctly, all her combos were her traps and her bows. At least now she's just thwacking people with a stick. More than once. So anyway, this jerk is back from his lunch break, and you'll notice that Guerrilla Games have put what made fighting the robot dinosaurs so intense and so rewarding, they've now put that on these guys. Plates. And I guess if you do it well, then do it everywhere. Why not? It's the least tiring aspect of Horizon. But this is kind of what I'm talking about with regards to emergent gameplay. And that is, if he wants to swing around that axe, torch, whatever like a maniac, let me set him on fire. Let me reward his idiocy with third-degree burns. Give me an oil lamp or something I can make at base something I can craft so that when I come across more dummies like this guy, they all just set themselves on fire because they're stupid. Give me that opportunity. And speaking of opportunities, who at Guerrilla Games vetoed Legoloi? You guys are just gonna stand there bone idle and let history become legend and legend become myth? Alright, I'm just saying because the cherry on top of this epic Mammoth fight seems to be missing. I mean, it's right there. It's right there, everything. You've basically taken everything from the fight. You just have to seal the deal. No one's gonna say anything. JT's not gonna be rolling in his grave. He's gonna be standing there going, yeah, sick moves, bro. But you know what? If it was too difficult to animate, then fine. Fine. And if it's a surprise in the game eventually, that's fine too. I'm not even going to begin to talk about my deliberations with this fight. Speaking of elements affecting elements, there's opportunity to turn the sand into quicksand, creating a different perspective to the fight. Give us ways to freeze the water maybe. Don't just make the water look pretty, make it emergent. There's a whole host of destroyed buildings around. Perfect opportunity to lure the mammoth into getting its tusks stuck, providing strategic gameplay. There are just so many things you can do with the elements around that Forbidden West just doesn't seem to be doing, and was my biggest problem with the original Horizon. And again, this all looks cool, and not to boil the fight to its most basic form, but to totally boil the fight to its most basic form. She shot a couple of weak points, hit the mammoth with Gorilla Glue, didn't do that still only counts as one. Seriously, I'm not kidding. PJ and Duncan won't mind. Also, just now she got high, did nothing that she couldn't do on the ground. There wasn't a grounded threat present where she needed to take to the skies. Gorilla just wanted to show her cool looking glider again, instead of showing a cool looking disarmament of the Ollie Mammoth. And ended the gameplay reveal on a low note. Yeah, it looked cool, but did you actually do anything? Anyway, that's just me. You can watch the full video over on PlayStation's channel uninterrupted, but I'm gonna leave it there. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys later.
Come on.
Well, this time, I have a present for you. I found it, Aloy. Huh? What'd you send me for? Right before the raiders got me.
You did good. Now, let's see where this thing will take us.
You always said a storm was coming.
Yeah. And it's almost here.